Welcome back everybody! This is part 2 of my Pokemon Sun first playthrough grass type only etc. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you probably haven't watched the first part of the run, so if you need a recap, you can click on what should be appearing right now on your screen, which will take you to the first part. Otherwise you can just read the rules of the run in the description of this video. Last time we stopped right after we completed the very first trial, so let's see what adventures await us today. After leaving the Verdant Cavern, Ilima explains that in order to get past certain points in the islands, we'll have to complete trials so the captains will open the way for us to proceed. He tells us that he's the only captain in Mele Island, so we won't have to complete any other trial here. But we do have to go talk with Hala now. Kukui shows up and explains how Z-Power works. By giving a Z-Crystal to a Pokemon, as long as the Pokemon has a move that is compatible with the Z-Crystal, a special move may be used during the battle. The effects and power of the Z-move will vary depending on the moves the Pokemon knows. What I think is pretty cool here is that you can give the same crystal to multiple Pokemon at once. However, you should note that those are considered to be held items, meaning that you're unable to give an item and a crystal simultaneously to any Pokemon. After a quick demonstration, Kukui continues his Pokemon move analogies that asks us to help him out finding Lily on Route 3. I wasn't expecting this, but wild Pokemon can hide in the berry piles. It would be nice if I could find the grass-type Pokemon in these. I defeat Crabrawler and level up, and Grovyle wants to learn Pursuit. I thought about teaching it, but then again, Brick Break is really good at this point. My normal type moves are now even stronger thanks to the Z-Crystal, and Mega Drain is useful to recover. So I decide I'm not going to learn it. I open up the Pokédex and check Cottony's whereabouts, and I'm definitely getting closer. We get into a trainer battle against the Petilil, but unfortunately the Pokédex tells us that its habitat is unknown, and so I learned that when I chose Pokemon Sun, I also unknowingly chose which Pokemon I'd be able to catch during the game, as this one is exclusive to Pokemon Moon. We eventually reach a sign that says we reached Mele Meadow. We proceed to the next screen and Lily is there. Apparently, Nebby floated away and we're asked to go retrieve it. A few seconds later, we finally come across the second member of our team. I noticed that Pokemon might be harder to catch in this generation, as only on our 4th attempt are we able to catch Cottony. We name it Cloud and carry on. After running around collecting items and talking to people, we get into a few wild battles just to make sure there aren't any other grass-type Pokemon appearing there, then we go talk to Nebby and we bring it back to Lily. As soon as we leave the meadow, Hau appears and we start battling. And it looks like Hau is really putting in the work, as his Pichu has already evolved, but it's definitely nothing compared to Grovyle's power. I used a couple of workups, then used the Z-powered version of Quick Attack, which is Breakneck Blitz, and I find it funny how Grovyle has its arms in that position. Anyway, needless to say, this move destroys Pikachu. Popplio comes out and one Mega Drain is enough to defeat it. Cloud levels up at the end of this battle and wants to learn Stun Spore. We're obviously going to learn it. At this point, I'll take anything that can cause a status ailment to my opponents. After this battle, Kukui shows up and we're given an explanation as to what happens after all trials are completed in an island. A grand trial takes place where we take on the island Kahuna in battle. Another Pokemon move analogy from Kukui and we're going through Route 3. There's really nothing to talk about here. We head straight back to Hiki Town as Lily and Kukui are waiting for us there. Kukui explains that Hala is a fighting type Pokemon trainer, which really isn't all that alarming considering it's not very effective against the grass type. We get another explanation on Grand Trials from Hala and the battle begins. And dude, if I thought intros were good before, Kahuna Battles intros are awesome. Hala suddenly stops being that chill, laid-back old guy and becomes a much more imposing, fierce opponent just from his stance. Like I said in part 1, I'm a sucker for these things, but when something is well made, it's well made. There's no way I'm not mentioning it. Hala sends out Mankey, and since it's only level 14, I go ahead and try using Workup so I can sweep his team. Except on my second Workup, a focused Mankey hits a critical hit and I'm reduced all the way down to just 5 HP. Thankfully, a single Mega Drain is enough to defeat it, healing us quite a bit in return. I also completely forgot to put the battle mode on set, but I'll make sure to do that later. Hala's second Pokemon is Makuhita, and while Mega Drain isn't enough to defeat it, Makuhita uses Sand Attack, but we're still able to hit it right after with Quick Attack. Crabrawler is Hala's last Pokemon, and just like Mankey, a single Mega Drain is more than enough to give me the victory. So I know I've battled all the trainers up to this point, and all of them with the same Pokemon, so I had the level advantage. The fact I used Workup definitely helped me out, but still, I was left a little bit disappointed. We get the Fighting Z-Crystal and another neat cutscene showing us the Grand Trial is now done. Hala teaches us the pose for the Z-Power, meaning every type will have a different pose. Not long after, a cool thing happens, as Hala's Tauros shows up and the Kahuna gives us a ride pager, so now we can ride around on Tauros's back, which will make our adventure go much faster. While I don't specifically like the riding outfit much, the element looks like a Hauloch's mask, and that does look pretty cool. Ilima comes up to us and congratulates us on winning without using the Z power. Because of Mankey's critical hit, I actually forgot to use it and went for recovery instead. After Ilima goes back, Hala gives us the TM for false swipe, which will be somewhat important later for other purposes. Kukui then says that after we go talk to our mom, we should head to the marina in Hau'oli so we can go to the next island. After everyone leaves, Lily wants to ask a favor of us, and I'll be honest, I 100% thought she was going to give me Cosmog given the way she was talking. But no, apparently she's coming along with us to the second island. While heading home, I take the opportunity to check out how Taurus works. We can now break certain rocks on our way, opening new paths for us. I get into a battle and switch over to Katani, and I'm immediately hit with the fact that it's not going to be easy training this Pokemon. Its extremely weak fairy type attack doesn't deal much damage, and we can't recover HP directly anymore because we forgot Absorb to give way to Stun Spore, but I'm definitely going to improve its affection through Pokemon Refresh. Once I reach home, I notice Mom is really approving of the idea of us traveling across the islands. I gotta say, even though we come from the Kanto region, the chill lifestyle of Alola is already getting to us at an alarming rate. I give the Normalium Z to Cloud and switch to the Phytium Z on Grovyle, because I'm curious as to how strong the move is and how it looks. After trying to look for a Grass-type Pokemon in the 10 Carat Hill, Cloud levels up and tried to learn Mega Drain. Given the fact that setting up Leech Seed takes up a turn only works on the Pokemon in front of us and that it only heals a very small amount of HP at a time, I decide I'm going to replace it. We also find the TM for Acrobatics in here. And early game, this is a pretty nice flying type move. Not only does it give me a bit more coverage, its power is increased if the opponent isn't holding an item. So after a bit of thought, I ultimately decide to forget Quick Attack in order to learn this one. After a couple minutes, we finally head to the marina, and after a nice little transitioning cutscene, we set foot on Akala Island. Just a few seconds after landing, two new people show up, introducing themselves as Olivia and Mallow. Mallow says she's a captain, but Olivia doesn't say anything. If there's something I've learned throughout the years of playing a bunch of different games, it's that character models with more details or with unique colors almost always have a major role in said game. So even though Olivia doesn't say anything immediately, I automatically assumed she would be the kahuna for this island. To be fair, she does say that Mallow isn't the only captain on the island, and that she would be waiting for a chance to face us. Kukui eventually confirms that Olivia is the kahuna, but I'm pretty sure that even if it didn't, no one would be surprised to find that out later anyway. We're told that this island holds 3 trials, which is already 3 times more than the first one. But it also means that if there are 7 trials in total, one of the remaining islands will have 2 trials and the other will only have 1. Everyone leaves, but we meet Lily shortly after near the clothing store. After she leaves, I decide it's high time for a change of clothes as well. I really like this Soundum shirt, so I buy an outfit that goes with that and head for the hotel. But we're stopped midway by 2 very eccentric people named Daxio and Sinna. And Daxio challenges us for a battle, so of course we agree. There's not much to talk about in this battle. I set up with 2 workups and then easily defeat both Slowpoke and Espeon. Daxio heals us up right after the battle, and that's one thing I really like in this game. It's very friendly. For instance, Lily heals your Pokemon almost every time she's with you out of towns and cities, and a good number of battles end with your Pokemon being healed afterwards. You can definitely tell that this game was made to be more laid back. Then something a little bit weird happens. We're given the Zygarde cube, and as I received it, I was like, what? Why? I feel like this was an attempt to bring a Gen 6 legendary Pokemon to Gen 7, mixing collectibles in it just because. No real explanation is given as to why, it's just, here, take this, go to Route 4 now, bye! The game is good, I can't deny that, but this just feels like padding, and I really feel like it wasn't necessary to the whole thing. But hey, gotta keep moving. We enter the hotel and talk to Lily, who also tells us we should head to Route 4, and as we look around, we see a small green sparkle. We approach and interact with it, and it appears to be a Zygarde cell. We immediately get a call from Sinna, and she explains that it's our mission to collect cells and cores. But again, no explanation as to why. It's just, hey, collect these just for funsies, and then something will happen, maybe not. But hey, we'll get in touch. I don't know, I stick by my opinion. I feel like this is way too much padding, where there definitely shouldn't have been any. Oh well. We leave the hotel and head onto Route 4. Not much to talk here, we battle every trainer and reach Paniola town. And after a short conversation with Hao, we have yet another battle against him. But just like Route 4, nothing much to say here. Even though Hound now evolved Poplio into Brionne, this battle is still a breeze. Once we reach Paniola Ranch, we level up on one of the battles and learn Leaf Blade. This move has a high critical rate, and will be keeping us company all the way until the endgame. We replace Acrobatics, because remember that we can use TMs indefinitely here. At a certain point, we reach an NPC that asks us to follow him. Once we do, we meet Mallow again, and we are gifted our second Pokemon ride, Stoutland. While Stoutland is unable to sprint like Tauros, it can sniff out items, basically an item finder that can move. Even though it can't sprint, it can run faster than Tauros at normal speed, so I will be using this ride quite often. There's one thing that I'd like to mention here. There are a few Tauros and Miltank here, and it's actually kind of funny. As in the time this part of the script was being written, Miltank was going to be the subject of my next project. That being said, if you watch this video and it has been released for a while already, a link to Miltank's video will be both on the description and at the end of this video. Moving on. We run into some Sudowoodo blocking our way to the south, and we're told that they don't like the Waterium Z. A few seconds later, someone tells us that going through Route 5 will lead us to Brooklet Hill, where a certain Lana holds her trial. I think I know where this is going, and I like it, but Grovyle likes it even more. We enter Route 5, and after a double battle, we meet up with Hao, who just lost a battle against a newcomer, Gladion. Of course now we have to show Gladion who's the man, so we take him on. His first Pokemon, Zubat, really surprised me. I definitely wasn't expecting a mere Zubat to rough Grovyle up like that. I start the battle by trying to set up Workup so I can sweep Gladion's team, but I quickly regret that because Zubat almost reduces me to half HP with a wing attack. On the second turn I try using my Z move, but fighting type isn't effective against either Zubat's flying or poison types, so we end up not doing much damage to it. We immediately get hit with another wing attack, reducing us even further down to just 15 HP. I then decide to switch tactics and try using Mega Drain to recover and hopefully defeat this bat. Except not only I don't, but Zubat hit me with a third wing attack. I got lucky here because I used Workup at the start of the battle. Thankfully, the small setup at the beginning allows me to survive the third wing attack at 4 HP. Gladion then sends type Null, and again, the earlier Workup probably saved me here. I use Mega Drain so I can recover a bit, and Null goes for Tackle. And just this basic move is enough to deal 19 points of damage to Grovyle, putting me back into red health. The first Mega Drain reduced Null's health down to half, so a second one is enough to defeat it. I'll be honest, I thought this would be my very first loss in the game, but when we think the worst has passed, tragedy is never too far away. After this battle, two Skull Grunts appear and it looks like Gladion is a part of their team. They eventually leave and we're free to proceed. Except I run into another double battle right after the Poké Center. And yeah, tragedy is indeed never too far away. The trainers send out a Vullaby and a Rufflet, and given that those two are flying type Pokemon, I don't think I need to say this, but I get destroyed. Not to worry though, even though this is our first loss in the game, this battle isn't mandatory, so we just skip it. Shortly after beating every other trainer in Route 5, we proceed to Brooklet Hill. This is where we first meet Lana, who asks for help. This is actually all part of her trial, but because of the nature of this trial, I won't be explaining too much about it, as it is very straightforward. Lana gives us a rider page for Lapras, which we can use to swim around in large enough bodies of water. The idea behind this trial is to go check some fierce movements in the water and defeat whatever is there. The first two battles are very easy, with the third one being against the totem Wishy-Washy. This one is in its cool form, which is more potent than its normal form. It also gets a boost to its defense stat right at the start of battle, which isn't much of a problem to us, seeing as first we have Grass-type Pokemon and second we have Mega Drain, so we should be absolutely fine. Needless to say, this battle isn't very difficult, and I'm able to defeat Wishy-Washy without even breaking a sweat. Wishy-Washy's cool form does eventually end right before I put an end to the battle, but it was still very easy to deal with even before that. And with this, 2 out of 7 trials are now complete. As a reward, Lana gives us the Water Z Crystal, teaches us how to use our new Z move and gives us a rod, which we immediately try out after Lana leaves. This route kinda sucks, I can only fish Magikarp, Wishy-Washy and Goldeen. Although for all I know, fishing could very well be purely based on the zone I'm fishing in instead of the quality of the rod. We head back from Brooklet Hill all the way back to Paniola Ranch, and because I noticed there's another photo spot, I'm obviously going to take a few pictures. After leveling the Pokefinder to level 3, we proceed south, where the Sudowoodo flee at the sight of my new Z Crystal. The two Pokemon run towards the Battle Royal Dome, and the kid that was next to them tells us about the dome as well. I know I usually mispronounce a bunch of stuff, my English is far from being perfect, but before you say anything, Battle Royal is not Battle Royale. There's no E in Royal, so I'll always be pronouncing it Royal. We head south and soon run up to a new face, who introduces herself as Hapu, and she asks for help in dealing with two teams called Grunts. These aren't just any Grunts, they're the same ones from back in Melee Melee Island. After a very quick battle against one of them, the both of them run away and Hapu tells us we should try the Battle Royal Dome. A funny thing happens to me when I reach the Royal Avenue. We see Gladion entering the Battle Royal Dome, but since I'm really curious about everything, I enter the Thrifty Megamart. And raise your hand if you've helped this Hypno right here. I know I did. I was thinking, well, Hypno deserves some love, I'm not gonna let it starve. Only to find out that it's just a guy in a Hypno costume. He does give me the TM for rest, but I do feel betrayed. Well, shame on me for being gullible, I guess. We eventually enter the Battle Royal Dome and we're introduced to the Masked Royal, who definitely feels familiar. Even more so when his word choices are, at minimum, suspicious. The Battle Royal then immediately starts and doesn't even let me choose which Pokemon is going to compete. And I can't say I'm feeling confident with the Cottony, even more so when I have no idea what Battle Royal is. But it ends up not being really difficult to understand. For Pokemon, free for all, I don't think there's much more to talk about. The only Pokemon that kinda scares me here is type Null. Cottony is very weak right now, so any move it hits me with will probably decimate me. Thankfully that's not really the case, as Null hits me on turn 1 with Tackle and only deals 17 points of damage. I know it sounds like a lot at this point, but I thought I'd be hit for much more. There's also something I really like about these battles, and it's that moves like Razor Leaf will hit every Pokemon at the same time, albeit with low power, but it is enough to defeat Rockruff, which somehow ends the battle. I initially thought that this would be a last man standing kind of thing, but not at all. Oh well, all's well that ends well, am I right? As as the Masked Royal is talking to us after the battle, someone new shows up, and is introduced as Kiawe, the Fire Captain. As confident as I was for the Water Trial, a Fire Trial right after... oh boy. But sadly, we are going to leave things here for now. We will be tackling the Fire Trial plus some other things on the next part, which will be coming very soon. I do hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, a sneaky way to tell you what you can and should do is appearing right now on your screen. With that said, my name's Grovyle, thanks for watching.